200 bikers surrounded a house to protect a girl from her stepfather. What they did melted hearts. The night was too quiet. Then came the sound. Low, steady, rising from the distance, engines, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Inside the house, a girl pressed her back to the wall, praying he wouldn't find her. Outside, 200 bikers were coming, and they weren't leaving without her. Maya Shun had learned how to disappear without moving. When Rick's voice rose downstairs, she'd vanish into herself, shrinking behind silence, breathing shallow, heart pounding so loud she swore he could hear it. The walls of her mother's once bright home now felt like a cage painted beige. "Ungrateful brat," Rick muttered, pacing the living room. "You think I don't notice the attitude? You're lucky I keep a roof over your head. Lucky." That's what he called it. Maya sat on her bed, her mother's old jewelry box in her lap, the one thing she'd refused to let Rick pawn. Inside, a photo of her mom smiling beside a row of motorcycles, a silver bracelet and a small embroidered patch. A hawk spreading its wings. Her mom, Diane Shun, had been light, the kind of person who made the ordinary beautiful. But after the accident 8 months ago, that light went out, and the house turned dark. Downstairs, glass shattered. Rick had probably thrown another whiskey glass against the counter. Maya didn't move. She knew the routine. Wait until he passed out, then breathe. But that night was different. That night the air changed. It started as a hum, distant, faint, like thunder rolling across a dry sky. Maya frowned, sitting up. The sound grew, deep, mechanical, rhythmic, engines. She crept to the window and peeled the curtain just enough to see the street. Headlights. Dozens of them. Then more. One by one. Motorcycles filled the quiet cul-de-sac, chrome catching the porch light, black leather jackets gleaming like armor. It was unreal, like something out of a movie. Neighbors stepped onto porches. Lights flicked on in every window. Dogs barked, but the bikers didn't stop. They parked in perfect formation surrounding her house. The sidewalk, the curb, even the opposite lawn. 200 engines idled together, growling softly, a living wall of sound. Maya's breath caught. What was this? Rick stormed out onto the porch, red-faced and furious. "Hey, you can't park here. This is private property." The engines quieted, but none of the bikers moved. Then one did. A man stepped forward, tall, broad-shouldered, with silver hair tied back in a long ponytail. He removed his helmet slowly, eyes lifting toward Maya's window. Their gazes met, and something shifted. She didn't know him. Yet something about him felt safe. Rick's voice broke the moment. "You hear me? Get out of here!" The man didn't flinch. His voice was calm, steady, like gravel rolled through honey. "We're not on your property. We're here for her." Rick blinked. "Her? Who the hell are you?" The man looked up again, right at Maya. "Maya Shun," he said. "Your mother made me a promise." "And I made one back." Maya froze. "Her mother? How?" The man placed a hand over his heart. "I'm Marcus, and you're not alone anymore." Rick's face twisted. "The hell you are. You've got 5 seconds to—" "Don't," Marcus said, not raising his voice. "Not tonight." Behind him, 200 bikers sat motionless, silent but present. A storm waiting for its cue. The kind of presence that made even cops hesitate before approaching. Police sirens cut through the air a few minutes later. 2 cruisers pulled up, red and blue lights painting the night. Officer Brennan stepped out. A familiar face from Maya's old school assemblies. He looked between Rick and Marcus like a man caught in someone else's nightmare. "Marcus, what is this?" Brennan asked, lowering his voice. "Just a peaceful assembly," Marcus said, nodding toward the rows of bikes. "We're not trespassing. We're not threatening. Just watching." "Watching what?" Marcus's gaze flicked toward Maya's window. Brennan followed it, saw her pale face behind the curtain, then saw Rick, jaw tight, eyes mean. He didn't need a law book to read that situation. Rick jabbed a finger at Marcus. This is harassment. You know who I am?
I'll call my lawyer.
Call whoever you need, Marcus said quietly. We'll be here. Maya's chest tightened. She didn't understand what was happening. Only that for the first time in months, Rick looked small. After the police left, warning Marcus about noise complaints, the bikers didn't move. They set up small camp lights, brewed coffee from thermoses, sat on curbs playing cards, and all through the night, they stayed. From her window, Maya watched them until her eyes blurred. Every time she looked down, Marcus was there, sometimes pacing, sometimes sitting beside his bike, but always glancing up at her window as if making sure she was still okay. By dawn, the neighborhood was buzzing. People whispered. News vans started circling. But inside that house, Maya was still just a girl holding a jewelry box, whispering to a photograph. Mom, who were these people? When Rick left for work mid-morning, his truck roaring out of the driveway, Maya slipped outside for the first time. The bikers watched her, not with curiosity but quiet respect. Someone handed her a cup of cocoa. Another offered a smile, and there, leaning against a black Harley with faded paint and a hawk logo on the tank, stood Marcus. Morning, kid, he said softly. Maya hesitated. You already knew my mom? Marcus's face softened, a mix of nostalgia and pain. Knew her? She saved my brother's life, Maya blinked. Saved? Marcus nodded, eyes distant. Yeah, but that's not why we're here. Then why? Because your mom saved more than a life that night, he said. She saved our family. And when she died, she left you to us. Maya's throat closed. But she never told me. She didn't have to, Marcus said. A promise is louder than words. The Crossroads Diner sat 3 blocks away, the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and road dust. Maya had passed it 100 times but never dared to go in. That morning she did. The bell above the door chimed as she stepped inside. Heads turned. Rough men in leather jackets, tattoos, boots heavy on the floor. The kind of men Rick always told her to stay away from. But not one of them looked unkind. Marcus was sitting at the center booth with a map spread across the table. Around him 20 bikers leaned in. Maya recognized one of them. The bearded man with kind eyes who had handed her cocoa earlier. Bear, Marcus said, noticing her. She came. Maya froze in the doorway. I didn't mean to interrupt. You didn't. Marcus gestured to the seat across from him. Sit. You deserve to know why we're here. Her hands shook as she slid into the booth. The waitress, gray-haired and warm-eyed, set down a mug of hot chocolate like it was the most natural thing in the world. Marcus reached into his vest and pulled out a photograph. It was old, her mother, younger, laughing beside a group of bikers in front of a painted garage. The hawk logo again. Your mom was one of us, Marcus said. She wasn't a rider, but she was family. She designed that hawk. She painted our walls. She was light. When my brother crashed his bike 15 years ago, she was the one who stopped her car and saved him, never left his side until help came. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I never knew that. Marcus nodded. We owe her everything. And before she died, she called me. Told me she was scared. Said Rick wasn't who she thought he was. She called you? Maya whispered. She said if anything happened to her, we were to make sure you were safe. Maya's hands trembled. You think Rick had something to do with the accident? Marcus looked at her for a long moment. I think your mom didn't die by coincidence. The diner fell silent. Every biker at that table lowered their gaze. Maya's breath hitched. Then what are you going to do? We protect you, Marcus said. Until Rick can't hurt you again? How? Marcus leaned back, eyes hardening. We're going to dismantle him. Brick by brick. Lie by lie. Outside, a motorcycle engine started. A signal, not of violence, but of resolve. And for the first time, Maya felt something stir inside her chest that she hadn't felt since her mother died. For the next few days, the bikers stayed camped outside Maya's house. They rotated in shifts, some guarding, others sleeping, a few keeping distance to avoid police suspicion. Neighbors whispered. Some called them dangerous. Others called them heroes. Rick was furious. He called the cops, city council, anyone who'd listen. But the law couldn't remove them, not from public streets. Marcus had done his homework. You can't stay forever, Rick shouted one morning as he backed his truck out. Marcus smiled mildly. We'll see. When he drove off, Marcus turned to Bear. You ready? Bear grinned. Been waiting years to take down a man like him. Their plan wasn't revenge. It was truth. Rick owned a small construction company, a front for illegal subcontracting and tax fraud. He'd been careful, but not careful enough. Marcus's crew included veterans, mechanics, and one retired detective named Sam Torres, who'd once owed Diane his life. They started digging. Paperwork, phone records, old police reports. Within days, they found what they needed. A pattern of embezzlement and insurance scams stretching back years. Meanwhile, Maya began to change. The fear that had kept her small started to crack. Every night she sat by the campfire with the bikers, listening to their road stories, laughter under the stars, lives rebuilt from wreckage. They treated her not as a broken girl, but as one of them. You're stronger than you think, Bear told her one night. Your mom knew it. Marcus knows it. You just forgot. She smiled faintly. Maybe. He looked at her. No maybe about it. But inside, Maya still wrestled with guilt. What if her mom's death really wasn't an accident? What if Rick had... She couldn't finish the thought. That night, Marcus walked over and handed her something small. The hawk patch, freshly embroidered. She was working on this the week she died, he said. Thought you should have it. Maya traced the threads with her thumb. The bird's wings were open, rising. What happens when Rick finds out what you're doing? She asked quietly. Marcus's voice was calm, certain. He'll do what men like him always do. Get loud, get reckless, and reveal himself. And right then, through the kitchen window, they saw headlights returning early. Rick's truck, Bear muttered. Showtime. Rick slammed his door, red-faced and sweating. You think you can humiliate me like this? He shouted, storming toward Marcus. Maya stepped between them before she realized what she was doing. Stop, Rick. His glare froze her in place. Get inside. She's not going anywhere, Marcus said evenly. Rick's laugh was harsh. You're trespassing. You and your little circus act. Bear took a step forward. Watch your tone. Rick pointed a shaking finger. I'll call the cops again. You'll all rot for intimidation. Marcus didn't flinch. Call them. Maybe they'll ask about your fake invoices and stolen permits. The color drained from Rick's face. What are you talking about? Your books are dirty, Rick, Marcus said. We found them. You've been stealing from your own workers. Maybe they'd like to know. Rick lunged forward, shoving Marcus in the chest. You don't know who you're dealing with. In an instant, Bear grabbed his arm, twisting it behind him. Not hurting, just stopping. Back off. Rick jerked free, his breath ragged. You think I'm scared of a bunch of washed-up bikers? Marcus's expression stayed calm, almost pitying. You should be scared of what truth sounds like when it finally shows up on your doorstep. Then something happened that nobody expected. Rick's phone rang, loud, sharp, cutting through the silence. He glanced down, his face going pale. No, that's not possible. He stumbled back toward the porch, muttering into the phone. They can't freeze the accounts. I said I'd fix it. No, listen, I can handle this. The bikers watched silently. Rick turned, face twisted with panic. You did this. Marcus just looked at him. No, Rick, you did this to yourself. Rick's voice cracked with fury. You're all trash. Her mother was trash. She got what she deserved. The words hit like a blade. For a moment, everything froze. Even the engines outside went silent. Maya's knees trembled, but she lifted her head. Don't you ever talk about her like that again? Rick opened his mouth, but whatever power he had left crumbled in her defiance. Marcus stepped forward. It's over. You can leave now or you can watch what comes next. Rick hesitated, rage and fear tangled in his eyes. Then he spat on the ground, grabbed his keys and stormed off. The roar of his truck faded down the street. Marcus exhaled slowly, looking at Maya. That was brave. She shook her head, tears spilling. I was just tired of being afraid. Marcus smiled softly. That's usually how courage starts. That night, the air around the house felt lighter. But inside Maya, everything felt heavier. Rick was gone. For now. But his words still echoed, poisoning the quiet. She sat near the small fire pit the bikers had built at the edge of the lawn. The flames danced against the chrome of the motorcycles, flickering like ghosts of the past. Marcus sat beside her, silent. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Maya asked, "Do you really think he killed her?" Marcus took a deep breath. I think your mother knew something she wasn't supposed to. Rick's business partners, they're not the kind of people who take betrayal lightly. Maya's stomach turned. So her accident wasn't an accident, Bear said quietly from across the fire. Your mom's car was found with cut brake lines. The police missed it, or ignored it. Maya's breath hitched. You're sure? Marcus nodded once. We had the car re-examined by a friend. The damage wasn't from wear. It was deliberate, her world tilted. The truth didn't bring relief. It brought grief sharp enough to steal her breath. I keep thinking, she whispered. If I had stayed home that night, maybe she wouldn't have left. Marcus turned to her, eyes steady. Don't you ever carry that weight. The only person responsible is the man who hurt her. You were a kid, the words broke her. She covered her face, sobbing. Not the quiet tears of survival, but deep, shuddering grief she'd held in for months. Marcus didn't say anything. He just sat with her, letting her cry, the sound swallowed by the steady hum of idling bikes. When her tears finally slowed, he said softly, She was proud of you. Maya, she told me once, my girl doesn't give up easy. Maya looked up, eyes red but defiant. Then neither will I. The fire crackled. For the first time there was resolve in her voice, not fear. Marcus smiled faintly. That's Diane's daughter talking. The next morning Maya woke to the sound of engines revving, not in warning but in purpose. Marcus was preparing his crew. What's happening? She asked, stepping outside. Marcus glanced at her. We're going to finish what your mother started. And as the sun rose over the cul-de-sac, 200 motorcycles rolled out together, not in anger, but in unity. Rick Castellano wasn't the type of man to run quietly. By the third day he was spiraling, calls unanswered, partners abandoning him, bank accounts frozen. His world, once built on intimidation and lies, was collapsing like sand in a storm. Marcus and Sam Torres, the retired detective, had spent the night compiling evidence, falsified reports, shell companies, even offshore transfers. They handed it all to Officer Brennan, who promised to deliver it straight to a federal task force. Do you trust him? Bear asked. Marcus nodded. He's one of the few who still remembers what right feels like. But Marcus knew men like Rick didn't surrender. They retaliated. That night, as the bikers gathered near Maya's porch, headlights appeared at the end of the street. A black SUV, too new. Too quiet, Bear murmured. That's not him. Marcus's jaw tightened. No, but it's someone he sent. Two men stepped out, suits too clean for the neighborhood. They didn't look like cops. One of them smirked. Evening, gentlemen. Cute camp you've got here. Marcus stood. You're on public property. Keep it that way, the man smiled wider. We just want to talk to the girl. Bear moved between them. That's not happening. A slow silence spread, tense as wire. Engines rumbled to life behind them. 200 bikers, one motion. The sound shook the air. The suited men hesitated, then backed toward their SUV. This isn't over, one called. Marcus didn't blink. You're right. It's not. When they drove off, Maya stood on the porch, heart racing. They wanted me? They wanted leverage, Marcus said. Rick's scared. That means he's cornered. And cornered men make mistakes. The next morning proved him right. Police cars flooded Rick's construction site. Workers stood outside, whispering as agents boxed up files. Rick screamed at them to stop. But his voice broke, powerless against the warrants. From across the street, Marcus watched quietly. Maya beside him. You did this, she said softly. No, Marcus corrected. Your mom did. We just finished the story she started. Rick spotted them then, his face red, fury, and panic twisting together. You think this makes you heroes? He shouted. You're nothing without me. Maya stepped forward, voice clear. That's where you're wrong. I was nothing because of you. And just like that, the shouting man became small. When the police took Rick away, the neighborhood erupted in quiet relief. Curtains parted. Doors opened. People who'd once looked away finally watched justice walk out the door. But Maya didn't cheer. She just stood there trembling, tears cutting down her cheeks. Bear put a hand on her shoulder. It's over, kid. She nodded, but her voice was small. Then why doesn't it feel over? Because grief, Marcus knew, didn't vanish when the villain left. It lingered in the walls, in the quiet rooms where a mother's laughter once lived. That night, the bikers stayed one last time. The street was calm, stars clear for the first time in months. Someone started a soft tune on a harmonica, slow, mournful, beautiful. Maya sat by the fire holding her mother's jewelry box. The flames reflected in her eyes, not fear this time, but reflection. Marcus sat beside her again. Tomorrow we'll head out, he said. You'll be safe now. Officer Brennan's arranging guardianship until you turn 18. Maya looked down. And then what? Then you decide your own road. She was quiet for a long time. Then she reached into the jewelry box and pulled out the hawk patch. Can I come with you? Marcus smiled, not out of surprise but pride. That's a big road for someone your age. I'm not afraid of roads anymore. He studied her. The same fire he once saw in Diane's eyes burning now in her daughter's. You sure? She nodded. I need to see where she lived, where she painted those walls. I need to remember her for who she was, not how she left. Marcus exhaled slowly. Then pack your bag. Sunrise is waiting. That night before sleep, Maya walked into her mother's old room, the one Rick had locked months ago. Dust covered everything. She opened the curtains, letting moonlight flood in, soft and silver. There, above the dresser, hung her mother's unfinished painting, a hawk rising from smoke. Maya touched the edge of the frame, whispering, I'll finish it for you. And for the first time since the accident, she didn't feel broken. She felt like her mother's daughter. The sun rose quietly that morning, golden light spilling across chrome, leather and dust. Engines hummed like a heartbeat as Maya zipped up her jacket, the hawk patch freshly stitched on her sleeve. She climbed onto the back of Marcus's bike. You ready? He asked, glancing back. Maya nodded, smiling faintly. I've been ready my whole life. The convoy moved as one, 200 riders slicing through the open highway, a ribbon of thunder rolling north. Wind whipped through Maya's hair. The world blurred, fields, bridges, forgotten towns, until all that remained was motion. Marcus raised his hand and pointed toward the horizon. See that line of trees? That's where Diane painted her last mural. They pulled into a small riverside town, quiet, sunlit, untouched by noise. On the side of an old diner, a mural spread across the bricks, a mother holding her child beneath a rising hawk. Maya stared, eyes wet. She painted this? Marcus nodded. When she joined us, she said she wanted to leave beauty where the world only left scars. Maya reached out, tracing her mother's brushstrokes with her fingertips. The mural wasn't just art. It was memory made immortal. That evening, they camped near the river. Maya sat with Bear, who was cleaning his bike chain. She was brave, Bear said quietly. But so are you. Maya smiled through tears. I don't feel brave, I just don't want to be afraid anymore. Bear looked up. That's what bravery is, kid. Doing it scared anyway. When night fell, Maya lay beneath the stars. The roar of engines replaced by the gentle rhythm of water. For the first time since her mother's death, she slept without nightmares. Over the next few weeks, the road became Maya's classroom. She learned how to change a tire, how to read maps, and how to trust herself again. In one town, she helped a local shelter repaint its walls. In another, she comforted a runaway girl who reminded her of herself. Everywhere they stopped, the Hawks left something good behind: food, repairs, protection, quiet acts of kindness that never made the news. One evening, while camped outside an abandoned factory, Maya noticed Marcus sitting alone, staring at the stars. You miss her, she said softly. Marcus nodded. Every damn day. Diane wasn't just your mother, Maya, she was our compass. When she died, we lost our way. Maya sat beside him. Then let's find it again. Marcus looked at her, smiling faintly. You sound just like her. She held out her hand. Then promise me something. If we ever find another kid like me and scared alone, we help them too. Marcus clasped her hand, firm and certain. You got my word. That night, under a canopy of stars, the motorcycle protection promise was born, not as a slogan, but as a vow. They would ride for those who had no one left. The next morning, Maya took her mother's hawk painting, now carefully rolled in canvas, and painted its wings across the hawk's lead van. When Marcus saw it, he smiled. You just gave us a new flag. The convoy rode out again, sunlight glinting off metal, the hawk emblem blazing in the wind. Peace, however, never lasts forever. One evening, as they neared the state border, Marcus's burner phone buzzed. It was Officer Brennan. Marcus, you need to hear this. Rick's out, bail hearing went sideways. Someone pulled strings. Marcus froze. You're kidding. I wish I was. He's out and furious. Keep the girl safe. He's been asking questions. Marcus hung up slowly. The air around the campfire thickened. Bear swore under his breath. We should have known he wouldn't stay down. Maya, overhearing, stiffened. He's coming? Marcus met her gaze. Maybe, but this time we're not hiding. That night the Hawks formed a ring around the camp. Engines ready, eyes sharp, but Marcus wasn't just waiting, he was planning. Rick's going to try and reclaim control, he said quietly. He'll go after the only thing left that gives him power, fear, so we make sure he finds none here. At dawn, the convoy rolled out again, this time toward Diane's old art studio in the mountains. It was remote, defensible, and filled with her unfinished canvases. Inside, Maya stood before one, a storm of color frozen mid-brush stroke. She picked up the brush her mother had left behind. I'm tired of running, she whispered. If he finds me, I'll be ready. Marcus stepped beside her, proud. Then let him find a fighter, not a victim. And as sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, Maya began painting again, not to remember the past, but to claim her future. The Hawks stood guard outside, the sound of their engines like a promise carved into the mountain air. The sky was heavy that night, clouds bruised purple, the wind restless. Marcus stood at the edge of the mountain road, listening. He didn't need headlights to know what was coming. He could feel it. Down below, the rumble of a single engine climbed toward them, fast, reckless, angry. Rick. When the SUV finally appeared, its headlights cut through the mist like knives. It screeched to a halt in the dirt. Rick stepped out, disheveled, eyes burning with rage and fear. Maya, he shouted. You think you can hide behind these clowns? You're mine. Maya walked out of the studio, her mother's brush still in hand. She didn't flinch. I was never yours, Rick. You broke everything you ever touched, but not me. Not anymore. Rick laughed, a hollow, cracked sound. You think this little gang will protect you? They're just thugs with engines. Marcus stepped forward, silent. Behind him, 200 bikers started their engines in perfect unison. The mountain trembled under the roar. Rick staggered, eyes wide. You wouldn't dare." Marcus's voice was steady. "We don't need to." "You already destroyed yourself." Flashing lights appeared behind Rick. Police cruisers climbing the road. Officer Brennan stepped out, weapon drawn. "Richard Castellano, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and attempted homicide." Rick spun toward him, furious. "You can't." Before he could finish, Brennan cut him off. "We got everything. Bank accounts, witnesses, the brake line evidence. It's over." Rick looked back at Maya, voice cracking. "Your mother ruined me. And now you—" Maya's voice cut clean through the storm. "No, Rick, you ruined yourself." As the officers cuffed him, the first drops of rain began to fall. The engines idled low, thunder merging with the storm. The mountain swallowed his screams. When dawn came, the world felt washed clean. The rain had stopped. Mist rolled over the pines like breath from the earth. Maya stood outside the old studio, staring at the mural she'd finally finished. A hawk soaring through sunlight, its wings painted in gold. Marcus approached quietly. "She'd be proud of that." Maya smiled faintly. "It's not just hers anymore. It's ours," he nodded, eyes glinting. "So what's next?" Maya turned toward the open road below. "The promise doesn't end here. There are other kids, scared, lost, alone. We find them. We protect them. Like she protected me." Marcus grinned. "Then we'll need more riders." By noon, the convoy gathered once again. This time, Maya rode her own bike, a smaller matte black cruiser, the hawk emblem etched into the tank. She adjusted her gloves, heart steady. Marcus called out, "Where to, kid?" Maya smiled. "Wherever someone needs us." The engines roared to life, and together they rode into the horizon, not running from ghosts, but chasing hope. Months later. A small town. A broken home. A frightened boy hiding behind a screen door as his father shouted inside. Then, a sound. Engines. The boy peeked out to see a line of motorcycles stopping in the street, their headlights bright against the twilight. At the front of the convoy, a young woman with calm eyes and a hawk on her sleeve. Maya. She knelt beside the boy. "Hey, kid. You okay?" He nodded, barely whispering. "He gets mad when I talk." Maya smiled gently. "Then let's go somewhere quiet." Behind her, the hawks waited, patient, steady, unthreatening. The boy hesitated. "You're not scared of him?" Maya shook her head. "I used to be scared too, but someone once promised me I'd never be alone again." She extended her hand. "Now I'm making you that same promise." The boy took her hand, and as the bikers surrounded the house, the man inside shouted, but his voice was drowned out by the roar of 200 engines, the same sound that once saved Maya. Now, it saved someone else. Sometimes protection doesn't come from power. It comes from people who remember what pain feels like, from strangers who become family, from promises whispered in grief that grow into something bigger than fear. They call them the Hawks, but they're more than riders. They're guardians of the forgotten, carrying the echo of one woman's vow across every mile of open road. Diane Castellano once said, "You don't have to be fearless to fight. You just have to show up." Her daughter showed up again and again, until the world listened. As the convoy rides into the sunset, Maya's voice carries softly over the sound of engines. For every child who's ever felt trapped, unheard, or unloved, we ride for you. You're not alone anymore. A sea of motorcycles stretches across the horizon, sunlight catching on chrome like fire. The hawk emblem shines gold in the wind. The motorcycle protection promise, inspired by true acts of courage. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Subscribe to our channel for more true stories of courage, kindness, and second chances. Hit the bell icon because somewhere out there, another promise is waiting to be kept. You could be the one who helps keep it.